So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Guys, as you guys are aware, on the weekend we have the return of Gennady Triple G Golovkin against Ryota Murata, and this has a lot of significance. It's not just the fact that it's a title fight, middleweight title fight, but it's also the fact, the significance of this fight. It's a fight to prove, or Gennady to prove that, you know what, he's still got what he once had. Has he got something left? I think there's going to be a lot of questions answered in this fight. Is Gennady the same fighter? Pressure. Can you apply that pressure? Is his footwork the same? Is his chin, which has been phenomenal over the years, which has been something which has been an asset for him really over the years, you know, with the way he fights. His chin has been phenomenal. You know, he's never been wobbled or hurt, and he takes flush shots on the chin. This is something that we want to see. Is that okay? Look, I think we'll all agree in his prime he would have taken Murata out in 5-6 rounds most likely. I think this is going to be interesting to see what Golovkin actually has left. Are there going to be areas in his game which are going to be look diminished? People already think that he is diminished. Now, people around Murata seem very confident. Bob Arum, I believe, it works with Murata, and he's very confident that Murata is going to do a job on Golovkin. They're very, very confident that, you know, Golovkin's going to lose this fight and Murata is going to win this fight. I'm interested. I'm curious to see how Golovkin looks in this fight, because I think how he looks in this fight is going to determine, look, Golovkin Canelo is going to sell, but how intrigued the fans will be. I think if he puts in a spectacular performance, I just think it makes the Canelo fight bigger. Bearing in mind, Canelo's got a very tough task in hand. There's no guarantee Canelo's going to win. But, you know, people do expect Canelo to win that, and people expect Gennady to win this. But if Gennady has a very poor performance, I think fans are going to start say, well, you know, he's got no chance against Canelo. But I want to read out some quotes that Gennady said. I think he was on Teddy Atlas's podcast, and this is what he had to say. It's my lifestyle that allows me to keep fighting on. I have not been a person that pushes me away I have not been a person that pushes me away from boxing. I continue to get in the ring, and this is all due to my lifestyle and general approach. There is no guarantee that this fight will take place. If this fight happens, excellent. If not, it's still fine. It's still great. I feel very calm about it. I feel too early to discuss a fight with Canelo. Let's get back to the question after the fight in Japan. Indeed, the next fight is a unification fight against Murata, and I'm excited. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. It's actually a unification fight because Murata is actually a champion as well. I completely forgot to mention that Murata is a champion as well. But yeah, and I'm very excited about it because, as you've learned from my interviews, it has been my goal to unify titles for a long time. I think it's too early to talk about the next fight and the next step, because we have to answer the next question of who's holding the titles and how long have they been holding those titles. I hope it may happen before I turn 45 or 50. I don't even know, because I wanted to unify. I wanted those fights, but those fights are not taking place. They're not happening. With time, I'm hearing those calls from fighters louder and louder, but nothing is happening. I don't even know the plan for anything. Before I go into it further, you know, GGG has been accused of not wanting to fight Andrade, not wanting to fight Charlo, but here he says he wants to unify. Is it a case where he realizes that he's going to get a massive unification fight, a chance to be undisputed at 168 with Canelo Alvarez? So I think if Canelo Alvarez goes back down to 168 and obviously he has all the belts, I think that makes that fight very significant, and I think that could be the selling point. The fact that Golovkin always wanted to be the undisputed champion, obviously at middleweight, but he'll have a chance at super middleweight. Now, I don't think Golovkin would get the same credit, although if he beats Canelo, he'll get credit because Canelo wiped everybody out, and if Golovkin wins, he'll become undisputed. But I think Golovkin wanted to beat everybody at middleweight and wanted to dominate and beat literally everyone, and Canelo kind of put a stop to that because Canelo beat him. But who knows, if Golovkin beats Canelo, Golovkin might go back down to middleweight and say, you know what, let me look to clean out middleweight as well. Because you know what, there's Charlo, there's Andrade there. Well, Andrade, if I'm not mistaken, he's moving up to 168 to fight Parker. So has he relinquished his belt? I don't know what's going off there. But if he does, that'll become vacant. So then it will just mean that he needs to probably fight. Maybe Golovkin, if he beats Canelo, could fight for a vacant title at middleweight. Even if he loses, maybe he goes back down and then fights, you know, if he wins this fight, he'll have 2 belts. His next fight is going to be Canelo. So I'm pretty sure he can go back down and look to clean out at middleweight. So, you know, the Charlo fight is definitely an option. So I'm like I said, I think GGG, even if he wins this fight, he has a lot of options, because even if he goes and beats Canelo, he can come back down. If he loses to Canelo, he can come back down. So I think Golovkin is very important for him to get this win on Saturday, because you'd have to say if he loses this fight, that his career is probably over. You know, I don't know where he goes from there, because the Canelo fight's not going to happen. Is he going to look for a rematch? I don't know. You know, I don't know what's going to happen then. So it's very important for Golovkin to get the win on Saturday. Otherwise, I think, you know, his career could be over. He then goes on to say, of course, we should pay attention to Murata's achievements and the fact that the fight is going to take place in Japan. We're going to Japan, and Japan is a land of surprises. So is he basically trying to say there that, you know, there's a chance that if the fight's close, he could get robbed? You know, is that what he's trying to say? I don't know. You know what happened in Japan in the past, which makes it even more interesting. Okay. See, the thing is with Golovkin right now is that this fight against Murata is very intriguing, because we don't know what Golovkin... Now, we all expect Golovkin to win this fight, but Golovkin's been a very inactive guy. Golovkin's been somebody that's been very inactive, and a guy that hasn't been in the ring that often, and he is old. And generally, that doesn't bode well when a guy is old, even though I think Golovkin is a guy that lives the life, and a Golovkin is a guy that really lives, breathes, eats boxing. And that's why he's been able to go. Generally, anyone that's fighting at championship level at the age of 40 is because they've lived the life. Otherwise, you won't be able to go on that long. And Golovkin's, for me, looks like a workaholic. Like, he looks like somebody that just would live. I think he lives and breathes boxing. That's why he's been able to go on so long. And you would think someone with Golovkin's style, although now he's starting to decline a little bit, Golovkin takes a lot of punches, and he has taken a lot of punches. If you look at it throughout his career, he's taken a lot of big shots. He takes shots, you know, his defense can be questionable at times, and he takes so much punishment. But that over a career, that takes its toll. So it's very important now for Golovkin. For me, Golovkin needs to get this fight done and dusted, and go in there and look to bash this guy up and become the old Golovkin, so he's fresh for the Canelo fight, because he needs his body to recover and as much as possible. But at the same time, he needs rounds, because you know he's not going to get Canelo out of there right away. It's not like he can go in there against Canelo and wipe him out. So Golovkin hasn't really had rounds. So you can look at it from one way that, you know, he doesn't need to be in a hard, tough fight, so it gives him his body time to recover. But at the same time, he wants to get rounds because he's been very inactive. So he needs those rounds so he can be sharp against someone like Canelo Alvarez. So it's going to be very, very important to, you know, however way you look at it. If he knocks him out in 3 rounds, then, you know, you could say, well, he's not really got the rounds. If he goes in there and has a very hard fight, you'd say, well, firstly, you know, is he declined? Is he going to be worn out for the Canelo fight? So there's a lot of things which, for me, are going to be interesting about this fight. And then obviously with the plans that they've got ahead for him, Golovkin says there that, you know, he's not worried about the Canelo trilogy fight. I don't believe him. I think Golovkin, inside him, he's burning. I think he's burning, and I think he really wants that 3rd fight. He feels that he was robbed. He feels like he was unjust. And I think the Canelo testing positive didn't go down well with Golovkin. I think Golovkin, although he might not, I don't know if he said it, I don't think he's openly going to say it, but I think he has a disdain for Canelo. I don't think he likes him at all. I think that was like that broke the camel's back. You know, I think the him testing positive, and I think the fact that, you know, he felt like he was robbed in both fights. I think Golovkin has something against Canelo now, and I think Golovkin was going to go into that 3rd fight. I've told you how I think he should approach that. I think he should go in there and look to just have a full-on war, look to take shots, look to go in there and just have a war with this guy. go toe-to-toe and have a complete war with Canelo Alvarez, tick for tack. Tick for tack. And I think that's his best chance. I don't think he's going to be able to, like, Abel's right. He's not going to be able to box with Canelo. If he tries to box with Canelo, Canelo's going to bash him up. Canelo, for me, is a better boxer at range. Golovkin can't beat Canelo at range. Golovkin needs to get Canelo on the back foot and bash him up. Like, literally make it a rough, tough, horrible fight. And that fight, then that Golovkin will stand a very good chance in winning that fight. He can't afford to let off the gas. He can't afford, he just needs to be on top of him constantly. Look to wear him and wear him out. That's what I think Golovkin has to do in order to beat Canelo Alvarez. I think if Golovkin tries to box, I think Canelo, especially at this stage, I think Canelo will have a field day with him. So Golovkin needs to put a lot of pressure on Canelo Alvarez. He needs to make it a rough and tough and ugly, horrible fight if he's going to win. Otherwise, I don't really see him winning the fight. I don't see him winning the fight against Canelo Alvarez. He needs to make this fight a rough and tough fight, but he needs to do the same against Murata, and that's why I think he needs to use the fight to do the same thing that he was going to do against Canelo against Murata. That's what I think he's got to do. Generally, you approach the fight differently, but Golovkin kind of approached every fight the same way. Like, his style and his pressure and his strength and his power was just always too much for anybody that he got in the ring with. Eventually, even if you were to have a little bit of success, eventually he would get to you, And I think that if in his prime, he would have definitely got to Murata. It's just now, can Murata get to him? Can Murata hit him with shots and hurt him? That's going to be very, very interesting. Personally, I favor Golovkin by knockout. I do. I think Golovkin will knock Murata out. But again, at this stage in Golovkin's career, would I be shocked if there's an upset? No, because I know how fighters can decline at 40 when you're inactive. It never bodes well. But Golovkin is a guy that probably could go on. He doesn't have a young man style. Although, your legs get slower. And as you get older, your chin and stuff does start to become more vulnerable. You're not able to take as many shots. Like someone like Luis Ortiz had a very good chin. But his chin's depreciated. It's got worse. So Golovkin, although he's got a granite chin, we just don't know whether his chin is he could get hurt, but we'll have to wait and see. Leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think Golovkin's going to win this fight? Do you think we're going to see an upset? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.